Hello team, welcome back to another Line War cast. This is your map today. From the lower bracket, our two teams in blue, Tomahawk, and in red, DT Assassin. So the winner of this game will move on to play the winner of the last game we uploaded in the lower bracket, and the loser will be eliminated from the tournament. Congrats to both for making it this far. This is pretty deep in the tournament. And Tomahawk's going for an airport, 2 barracks and 2 factories. Neither player is going to know where the other one spawned. They're going to find out pretty quick that they're very close. At 2 factories and an airport for DT Assassin. He follows it up with a town. DT Assassin did pick this water territory as one of the starting territories, so they can build a refinery in it immediately. It's very unlikely that Tomahawk's going to build a dock here to contest this. But it is helicopters from blue. So the range of this airport, we can see with the green line, this is how far the helicopters can get. Potentially, if Tomahawk moves the helicopters to this peninsula, they could hit this refinery. We'll see if that comes into play at all. And it's bombers and tanks from DT Assassin, who's going to have a little bit of a boost to the eco because of this town. And Tomahawk's got 3 refineries relatively close. And I think one of the things that will be interesting is how quickly DT Assassin can get up through this part of the map. And if they can do so before Tomahawk starts pressuring everything. Because it's important for Red to grow up to the north to keep their economy going. A barracks now for DT Assassin. This might be a lot of pressure from Tomahawk, who's going artillery and infantry here with the first helicopter done. And we can check the ecos real quick. 360 for blue, 350 for red, now 360. The town is going to change that a little bit. And 2 tanks for DT Assassin, and a transition into an artillery piece out of one of the factories and more tanks out of the other one, with the bomber just completing. In our last video, there was a moment where there's a Steam key for Line War that was shown on screen. Obviously, it's first come, first serve. As soon as someone uses the key, it's invalidated. I hope they put it to good use. By no means will I have that happening for every video or at any regular cadence. But just as a thank you, folks, for watching these videos, for supporting the channel in whatever way you do that, liking the videos, commentating part of me, subscribing, sending to your friends, just watching it in general. Much appreciated. And here we go. First fight of the game. The bomber is checking this refinery immediately, and it will see it and do some damage. It's not going to be able to destroy that blue refinery, but it'll be able to start working on it. And the 2 tanks now for DT Assassin sees how big of an army this is. And I'm not sure if DT Assassin is going to be panicking or anything at this army, but it is a large enough army that there has to be some care taken. The tanks are going to get around the infantry, which is great. The helicopters for blue are going to try to work on these tanks, and never mind, these infantry are doing a great job to body block and stop these tanks from breaking out fully. They finally do so, but the helicopter's here now, and is going to help take out one of the tanks. And there it goes. And now interceptors from blue to counteract these bombers that red continues to make. Sam's out of the second factory now for DT Assassin, and following up with 1 more barracks. And red has gotten to this northern part of the map before blue was able to block it off. So that is good news for DT Assassin, who's going to send the 2 bombers, almost 2 bombers, the second one's about to finish, and the tank at the refinery. And it'll be a big play if red can take this out, because it will stop these interceptors and helicopters from flying for blue. Tomahawk's now going for 2 SAMs out of the factories and rushing the helicopters home to defend this. And the forest battle is going to really heat up in a second. 460 income for blue, 485 for red. The tank's now here. It's going to be an artillery piece and infantry and a helicopter to defend this. There's probably going to be an interceptor as well that'll do some amount of damage, but importantly, it's going to be able to greet this red bomber when it shows up, as does the helicopter. But DT's microing this tank with a move command, so ring around the Rosie on this refinery, and with the help of that move, is going to be able to destroy this refinery. Unless I'm totally wrong. This is very close. I guess the second bomber might not actually be able to destroy it. The good news for DT is that both the bombers will get out successfully. One artillery piece dug in the forest. This is great. It has added range and obviously better defense stats. And a very aggressive barracks from Tomahawk here. DT Assassin can't see this. It's in the forest, so there is that stealth bonus. And DT's got another barracks on the way that can also help out with the defense here, but at the very least matches this blue barracks that's put down super close to their base. The tanks in the forest are doing relatively well. The vision is terrible since the tanks don't have very good vision, so the artillery pieces can't be seen for red. I'm messing around with all the hotkeys. There we go. Back on track. And one SAM against two helicopters and an interceptor. The SAM might be in a little bit of trouble. First SAM is nearly done now for DT Assassin, who starts a second SAM on the other factory as well. Because these blue plane numbers are starting to grow. There's another interceptor on the way for Tomahawk. A DT Assassin puts down another barracks here to the left of the screen. Income-wise, we can check it out. 557 for red and 540 for blue, so still very close. But Tomahawk's going to start getting a bunch of artillery pieces here. The numbers are going to get quite scary. There's a barracks for Tomahawk now in the north that could either help pressure DT Assassin's main base or start sending units up and really just capping everything right as DT Assassin captures it with the red infantry. One SAM now for red. Working on this helicopter. There's a second one almost done. And this is a scary moment. There's now 6 artillery pieces that are about to be in the fight for DT Assassin, with another 3 reinforcing. Tomahawk's nearly capped everything on their main starting point. And not looking to expand to the rest of the map yet. There is a ton of map that both players could get, but they've spawned very close, and Tomahawk might see this as an opportunity to do some very lethal damage here and just end this game very quickly. 3 helicopters against the farm. How many helicopters does it take to destroy a farm? And how quick can they do it? The answer is 3, and pretty quick. More helicopters for Tomahawk being built at the airport, and 2 interceptors just chilling on the tarmac, ready to respond to all these bombers that are going to be sent to the north for DT Assassin. They're right on top of the barracks. This one is not in the forest, so it doesn't have that stealth property. And 2 SAMs for DT Assassin moving to the south to handle these helicopters. They're going to get 1 and force these blue helicopters to retreat a little bit. And Tomahawk can see this refinery, but not really in a position to be able to use the helicopters quite yet to destroy it. A very wide front of blue artillery developing in the forest, with 3 bombers working on this blue infantry and the barracks. Here come the interceptors for Tomahawk. And they may be able to get 1 bomber on the way home. And another great snipe from DT Assassin on that helicopter. There's only 2 helicopters now down here for blue. And can these bombers get home? The interceptors are just kind of chilling. flying right on top of this bomber, not attacking it though. The helicopters take out the tanks, but they're going to both get destroyed with the help of this third SAM that just popped out for DT Assassin. And the only good thing for DT, not the only good thing, but a good thing is that these 4 bombers, there's no AA here for blue. There's really just these 2 interceptors at home. But before they get here, these bombers are going to be able to thin out these artillery numbers a little bit. And a third factory now for DT Assassin on the way. So over time, if this factory gets up and running, DT Assassin should be able to push this back because they'll be producing more units. And as I say that, Tomac puts down another factory in the forest. In a very aggressive, but relatively safe location. It is 2 territories away from the mainland, or front lines, pardon me. Three SAMs get 1 of the interceptors. Never mind, they don't. I was thinking about this one. It gets home. The second interceptor is destroyed. And a barracks in the north for DT Assassin. This is very good to help cap all this because this is Tomac's plan. They are just sending infantry up to the north to recap everything as DT Assassin takes it. Which is huge because it negates all the economy gains that red is making in the north. 725 income for blue, 584 for red. The third factory is now completed. It's building artillery pieces. And the airport is full for DT Assassin. Which is good. The money's relatively tight. This will be huge if this 1 infantry is able to destroy that factory. It can if it gets to hang out here long enough. But DT pulls back some infantry. And a bomber gets a shot off. And another factory now for Tomac, who's got 2 helicopters on the airport, a third one building, and a town for blue is complete. This is a tough situation for DT. Still no sight on these factories and barracks in the forest. Shows really just how stealth they are, even with 2 bombers stacked up and pretty much flying right over top of it. They can't see it. Because DT is now at the factory disadvantage. There's going to be 4 for blue to the 3 for red. And great defensive line from blue. And as I say that it's disbanded, I mean, there's enough for blue to push heavily through this forest. There's still no AA. There's 2 SAMs about to show up to help deal with these bombers. And a 5th factory now for blue, who loses this barracks to the bombers. The bombers can now start focusing on the main army. And no further development. There's, I mean, this fight is going on with the infantry in the north. Blue should win that to begin with, but now that this barracks is gone, maybe over time, DT Assassin can win in the north. Which is very important in this game, but this is going to be a very strong push from blue, whose 4th factory is now building units. And will have a 5th factory relatively soon, and 4 helicopters. And here go the helicopters. There's only 1 SAM here for red. There's 2 in the north, but they're not going to be part of this fight. The SAM is positioned great in the forest. There is an interceptor, so everything's getting spotted for blue. Can DT see these buildings yet? Not even. 1 red bomber goes down. The SAM will get destroyed. Those 3 helicopters get rid of it in 2 volleys. A 2nd bomber going down. And can this interceptor get this 3rd bomber? Not quite. Tomac builds a very aggressive 6th factory Nice pickup from DT Assassin to take out this Tomahawk barracks. In the mountains to the north, still a very scary push from blue. And it's only getting scarier over time with all these factories going down. And we can check the eco, 677 for red, 745 for blue, so it's not super, super bad. But still a tough situation for DT, rushing 3 SAMs down to the bottom to handle these 4 helicopters. There's another one on the way. And Tomahawk now has 4 SAMs. This is going to be an effective number to deal with these 3 bombers. There's a 4th bomber on the way. But there's also a 5th SAM that's about to join this formation. And it's all artillery at the moment for this round of production from Tomahawk. The tank is soaking shots. It's moving super slowly through the forest though, so it's not able to get on top of the artillery super quickly. One more SAM gets taken out and Tomahawk pulls this helicopter back before it's destroyed. In the ultimate dance between helicopters and SAMs that we see so often. The bombers in the north are great for DT Assassin, who's going to clear up all this Tomahawk infantry over time. But the front is still a problem. So the infantry from these barracks are going to get involved in the main fight. They kind of have to. And all the factories for blue are now online. I don't see... Okay, so all the infantry from Tomahawk got sent back to the front lines. I thought maybe the famous disband command that we very rarely see was used, where you intentionally destroy your own units to save upkeep. And this over time is going to go blue's way. With this... I mean, it's twice as many factories for blue as it is for red. And the bombers aren't able to do much with the SAM positioning. Tomahawk's trying to rebuild a barracks. Still has 2 infantry up in the north. And economy-wise, 725 for blue and 729 for red. So DT Assassin's technically in front. And has made up a lot of ground on the eco. But there's still so much army for Tomahawk. Healthy number of SAMs for how many planes there are for red. And the planes are going to have to launch at some point to handle this much blue artillery. And it's going to be tough when they do, because these SAMs are ready. And there's an interceptor as well. DT Assassin's building some industry, and Tomahawk's building a second barracks in this forest, and red's got industry on the way. Now that DT is kind of winning the north, if red can hold on against this push, they'll be in a very good spot. The bombers got a few bombs off. We'll see if they do get pulled back or when they do. But it's kind of desperate times at the moment. This is DT's vision, so the SAMs are all seen. So 2 SAMs left for blue. A handful of the bombers get taken out. It's still 4 helicopters for Tomahawk. He was starting to win on this like southern front of this battle. and inching their way closer to the red production. The infantry for blue and red are going to get in another fight in the north. DT Assassin still can't see these barracks, but will recognize that something must be here when all this infantry pops out of the forest. There's one helicopter up in the north for Tomahawk, which is going to be super huge to help out with this push, because there's no interceptors for red to get up here and deal with this helicopter, and there's no real way that the SAMs are going to be able to run up there in time. Fourth factory now for DT. And here come the 4 helicopters. The SAMs for red are relatively close. But we'll see if the helicopters track the SAMs. They will. They go over the artillery pieces, so this is kind of decent for DT because they get closer to these 3 SAMs that are showing up to try to snipe as many helicopters as possible. But there's about a 14-to-1 advantage on the artillery numbers for blue. There's 3 SAMs for Tomahawk here. There's a 4th one in the forest as DT's bombers get launched. And these are the lines. DT's starting to work on that barracks. Another factory in the north. Probably in response to those helicopters and building SAMs in the north. But we'll see what's actually built. 1 bomber goes down, so does 1 SAM. And no more production for Tomahawk here, so it's still just these 6 factories, and when I say just, that's still a lot. The 4th factory for red is now up and producing units. But very slowly this is breaking. We can check the economy. 851 for red, 715 for blue. Tomahawk's not really capping much of the map at this point. There's 1 infantry in the north. And there's no other development elsewhere on the map. So it makes sense that DT is making more economy. But can DT hold against this many artillery in this wide of an arc with a decent number of SAMs? It's now 4 bombers against 5 SAMs. And it's mostly artillery. Tomahawk's been doing a good job of building only the bare minimum number of SAMs required to be effective against these red bombers. Because every SAM that you build is not an artillery piece, really. I mean, that's the silliest sentence that I've ever said on the cast, but you understand what I mean. There's more firepower when you're building artillery pieces. And if 4 SAMs is enough to discourage these bombers and pick off a few at a time, it's a great balance. In fact, these helicopters can take on the bombers as well. They do a decent amount of damage. And this is tough now. DT's left with 1 bomber. There's a 5th factory on the way. It's super close. But it probably will start building before this blue artillery gets here. But probably won't be building for long. Tomahawk's now defended these 2 barracks and sending units up here, so it is a SAM and tanks in the north for DT. The tanks would be super effective against all that infantry. But the helicopters for blue are exactly where the SAMs are not. So good decision from Tomahawk. And now it's reached this point in the game where all this blue artillery is deployed. So red kind of has to, these units have to move into firing range in order to deploy and attack this blue artillery. And it's very difficult to push something like this back at this point. Still 4 SAMs here for blue, which is the perfect number. There's only 1 bomber left. Helicopters are being built for DT. A second factory in the north. Income-wise, Tomahawk's now in negative money, 715 total economy. DT's at 900 and making money. But if all of this is destroyed, it's not gonna unfortunately matter for red. And another factory in the north. Probably DT's kind of half decided that this part of the map is lost, but you can still win a game even though your opponent destroys your main base in different situations. If you have more of the map and you have a better economy, you can rebuild somewhere else and it can be very effective. But if we take a top-down look, I mean, DT is going to take the top right of the map, or at least get the head start there. We'll see how quickly Tomahawk decides to start investing and capping all of this. They're doing a fine job here of taking away all this territory from red. Even takes out a tank. 1 infantry takes out that 1 tank. I mean, surely there is more to that story, but that's what we saw, and that's what the story gets to be for that infantry. Town and airport and 2 factories are now obviously in a lot of danger. It's only a matter of time before they are destroyed. Good dig in from Tomahawk to defend these 2 barracks. And 2 tanks and artillery and a bunch of industry for DT. And Tomahawk's now sending all these units up to the north. Or the vast majority of these units up to the north. Since this is enough for blue to destroy this entire base in the bottom left for red. So we can check the ecos. 903 for red and 755 for blue. Town goes down for DT. And that's a decent hit to the economy. But importantly, Tomahawk's going to cap all this territory in the bottom left. DT's building all this industry as a way to make a bunch of money as quick as possible and offset all this eco loss. And now it's a question of how this fight goes and whether DT can make some magic happen here. There's some infantry over to the right to cap. But this is tough. 2 helicopters might get this 1 barracks. And it does, and they do. DT's putting down an airport in the north now. There's only 3 barracks, all making commandos for DT. And here's the plan. Gonna send some commandos off to this forest. And it is a sneaky play. They could maybe avoid this army and then start attacking some blue production structures. But certainly this will be a very difficult comeback if you're DT. Building a dock in the middle. There's actually 3 refineries here, and missile boats in the center can always be good against an opponent that's going for airports. 834 income for red. 885 for blue now. And now the first artillery pieces for Tomahawk start showing up. And some SAMs as well for blue to send up to the north. We're seeing the end of 2 helicopters versus 2 SAMs. And that's pretty rough for DT. There's one more SAM on the way. But these 2 helicopters for blue are going to be super effective. Commandos can't quite get away as cleanly as DT probably hopes. And they're going to run towards the airport. Three tanks for DT doing a great job, but now these blue helicopters are here. And the force of, I mean, 5 Ferrics. 5 factories at least. The 6th one's also in the fold at this point. And the bottom left is certainly destroyed. Kind of nice that, I mean, I guess the artillery can actually target it. They can range that. And factory, or airport now for Tomahawk. And if we take a top-down look, this is a lot of blue. It's also a very good defensive position for Tomahawk here. In this choke with the forest. DT has built a barracks on the right-hand side. And going for a missile boat out of the dock. There's the refinery, the replacement refinery for Tomahawk here. It's going to be, or for DT here. Very slowly this artillery is going to get on top of it. At the pace at which artillery move. We can check the eco, but it's probably going to be worse now. 1,000 for blue. 786 for red. Second airport for DT. And it's just helicopters out of the first airport. And this is the look. Clearly, this is the only part of the map that really matters. Good send from DT on these helicopters. To the side where there's no AA. And helicopters out of this airport for Tomahawk. But there are 2 SAMs here for blue. More on the way. The factories, some of them at least, are building SAMs, but the rest are building artillery pieces to keep that punch as big as possible. And DT throws down a 4th factory, has 2 missile boats now with a 3rd on the way. Which will protect all this capping infantry. And maybe over time be able to help with these helicopters, but the ground army from blue is big enough. The refinery will go down even if this one helicopter stayed here to attack all this. There's just too much artillery for it to clear out. And 2 SAMs is the number needed to deal with this low amount of helicopters. Great position of the SAMs. Second airport for Tomahawk, but that's it. GG, well played to both. So as mentioned, the winner of that game is going to play the winner of the last game we just cast. Which was T and Animorph. And I won't even say who won that. You can check out the last video if you're interested. As I mentioned before at the beginning of the video, thank you all for the support. It's very much appreciated. Hope you have a wonderful night, day, evening, breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever it is. We'll see you soon. Enjoy. Peace.